Hey everyone. Um, Welcome to Paper Movies. I'm sorry, it's just me. Um, so before we start with this month's book club, I just want to apologize. So much has happened in our lives the last um few months. Matthew is going through basically doing kind of what I did and doing some education stuff. So he is not free a whole lot right now. So October was going to be just Adam and me, but Adam is experiencing some family struggles. They've been going on for a while now, but things are kind of coming to. I'm trying to be as vague as possible. Just throw some thoughts and prayers to Adam and his family, please, because they're really going through it right now. And wish Matthew some luck, boost his morale and stuff. I I made a joke about him in August, and you know, I don't want y'all taking me too seriously with that. So anyway, let's get started. We're talking about a new novelization came out on the 9th, I believe, from Titan Books. It is the 2005 film The Descent. The novelization is by one of my favorite novelization authors of this decade, Christian Francis. So I got an early review copy of this. We all did. Like to thank Titan Books and Christian Francis for sending out a copy of this for us to take a look at. And I will say this: Adam very much enjoyed the book. I'll just throw that out there. And at some point, we may do a re-review where we all talk about this one because this one's worth rereading. What is The Descent about? It's about a group of friends that are hiking in the Appalachian Mountains. They end up going spelunking into this cavern. Um, and not all is what it seems. And there are these creepy monsters in there that start killing them. But I want to dial back because Christian Francis adds quite a bit to this. So we get a prologue from the 30s with a group of miners that end up coming across the what are called crawlers. Both Christian Francis uses that term, and it's like a fan term for the creatures, these humanoid cave crawling creatures in this series. Um, so I'll refer to them as crawlers. So we get a little like prologue. Reminded me a bit, and I don't mean to tie this to something that a lot of people hate, but it reminded me of the extended version of Alien versus Predator, the Paul W.S. Anderson film, where we get brief glimpse at the previous hunt at the whaling station 100 years prior to the events of the film. This is the Descent. What Christian Francis does with the Descent is infinitely better. It's scary, it's gross, and I love it. We also get a little more with the rafting trip with Sarah and her family. Sarah's our main character, and we get a little more talk with the character Juno, who's having an affair with Sarah's husband Paul, and then we get the. And I was. It's so tastefully done. So spoilers, but this happens in the beginning of both the film and the book. Sarah gets in a horrible car accident that kills her husband and daughter. And it is the husband's death that's described as pretty horrific and gross. We don't see the daughter's we assume what happens to the daughter is the same as the husband, where they hit like a truck, and the truck had steel poles, and they go through the car and just annihilate them. It's gross. It's really gross and shocking in the film. It's equally shocking in the book, but Christian Francis does the stuff with the little girl tastefully. There's no nasty autopsy like in Alien 3, and I'm very happy for that. Like, sure, uh unaliving a child in in media is a very it can be very crude. Reminds me of this terrible film called Beware Children at Play, where there's these like killer children. It's like a Children of the Corn ripoff, and then all the parents come in and um unalive the kids, and it is the goofiest looking thing. I saw the end of that film, which is supposed to be horrific, out of context, and it just is like a you could honestly put clown music over it and laugh over it. It's so goofy and cringe, but this is done very tastefully. In fact, this book is pretty much everything's done, despite it being very graphic and gross. uh, as I've said many a times on my channel, Christian Francis brings the gross into things. As gross as a lot of the deaths are in this, there is a tastefulness to it. Nothing is overly gratuitous, including like the blood viscera pool that's in the film, that's in this, and all that sequence is done well. Everything is done very tastefully, and this is clearly not necessarily a writer for hire, rather a writer that really likes the film and wants to do a very good job writing a novelization to it. And that makes me uh, I love that. That is something Christian Francis always brings to his novelizations. There is a love for the craft of novelization writing as well as the craft of film, and he always brings his A game to projects. Now, if you've been following the Stupid Chainsaw channel, you know that I've been covering a bunch of his stuff. He had a bunch of novelizations come out this month, and every one of them's been pretty good, if not great. So this is no exception to that. Um, the other thing is this has an alternate ending from the US ending that works a lot better in this. It reminds me of another novelization he did, which I've not talked about on Paper Movies, but talked about on my channel, called The First Power, where he changed the ending of that. Now I know that the UK has an alternate ending, and this is more in line with the UK alternate ending that American audiences didn't like, so they reshot the end. So it actually has both ends in this, and I like it. It does mean that we're not going to necessarily get a Descent 2 novelization. I'm okay with that. I think the world is okay with that, even though I will say this, The Descent 2 is okay. The problem is it's a sequel to The Descent, which is one of the best films, like horror films of the 2000s, an era that was just obsessed with torture for the sake of torture. There's not really any of that. Um, some great psychological horror as well as splatter in both this novelization and the film. Um, and the novelization is well worth your time to check out. I give it a solid 5 out of 5 stars. A lot of people are praising this novelization, and it is well deserved. This one is well worth your time to check out. So, anyway, have a nice day and stay Gucci, everyone.